first let's start with the current state of the economy, right? Let's think about where we are in the present. Now, I've given a number of talks over the years, and on rare occasion, I've been told I could only use one slide. And when I do, this is the slide I use. These are what they call PMIs, Purchasing Manager Indices, for manufacturers. What these are surveys of companies, people who work in companies, real people who buy stuff that they manufacture into other things. Now, I realize manufacturing is a small part of the US economy, around 11 to 13%, similar percent for the Eurozone. But even though that's the case, it's often a critical leading indicator of economic growth because of the high capital intensity of the space. Now, in somewhere like China, it's much more important, right? It's over 30%. It's almost a third of the economy is manufacturing. Now, what this chart shows, there's 4 lines up here. There's a black line that's at 50, and that's the break-even. Now, above that, there are 3 other lines. And from bottom to top, there's a red line, and that represents China. There's a blue line, which is the US. And above that, the one that's the highest right now is the Eurozone, and it's green. And if you want to know what's going on, people ask me, how do I forecast things so well? How do I forecast across so many different categories? Well, if you can find data that's applicable to a lot of different things, that's very helpful. Where the global economy is going is probably one of the best metrics you could use. If you ask me, why are oil prices where they are? Why are industrial metals prices where they are? I might tell you, well, China had been in a manufacturing recession for almost 2 years. It just ended a few months ago. You might not have heard about this because Chinese growth, people talk about it, they throw up a number 6.5% for GDP. That number is the official number, and it's fiction, right? So, you know, there are lies, there's damned lies, and then there are statistics, right? Maybe you've heard this joke. The sort of next level of hell is Chinese statistics, right? So, but the reason this Chinese number matters is it doesn't come from the government. It's privately compiled, right? You ask people, purchasing managers at manufacturing companies, they're buying raw materials and semi-finished materials to make stuff. And why are they making it? Well, they're making it because there are orders they have to fill. And they're going to fill those orders in the future. And when those orders get filled and the goods are shipped, then it contributes to growth. Right? So these numbers, they're all above 50 right now. But you can see on the left part of the chart, they were all below 50 in a really big way. That was the Great Recession. Right? And then there's a time period where the Eurozone was below it, kind of in the middle of the graph. That was a second dip, right? A double dip for the Eurozone economy. And then on the right, you see that one of the lines, that's China. That was below it for almost 2 years. You don't hear about that in the press. Why were copper prices low, aluminum prices low, oil prices low? The oil story wasn't just about shale. It was about China, one of the biggest additional marginal consumers of oil demand in the world, being in a recession for 2 years that no one talked about. Right? And after all, in the US, even though our manufacturing might be 11 to 13% of GDP, in China, it's almost a third, right? So if our 11 to 13% gets us in recession, right, when this goes below the line, what do you think would happen if it was a third of our economy? Much bigger impact.